So we have here with us this evening Patricia Rice. I met Patricia at her book launch, and the spirit I encountered in her was so beautiful that I definitely wanted to have a conversation with you and to be able to get more about your life and what brought you to this moment with your book. And I definitely sensed that there was a profound ministry there. And so just in our talk previous to this evening, I'm glad that I followed my instinct
I'm
and
glad
listened
that
to
you
spirit.
did.
Yes. So that is why you are here.
Okay. Obedience. Okay.
Yes, obedience. So let's start off with where were you born? Where were you born?
I was born in Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Hattiesburg.
I was born on the corner of Flower Street in Hattiesburg in my Aunt Shug's house, where my older 4 brothers were also born there. Aunt Shug had a big boarding house on the corner, and she had a fish fry restaurant in the back, and she was an entrepreneur. She had a little store, and she had a pantry where if anybody was in need, they could come there and get some food to eat. That was my Aunt Shug. She was a very giving lady.
So what brought you to LA and when?
My parents, when I was 1 year old, and that was in 1954, they moved to Los Angeles. So if my daddy had, the migration, the Great Migration, when many of the African Americans left the South, and they either went to Chicago, St. Louis, California. Well, they came to Los Angeles. My daddy came first, and he got a job working at Rockwell Aviation, a very good job. A lot of them were getting very good jobs there at that time. And then he sent for my mother and myself and my sister. I have a sister a year older than me, and we came to LA on 47. I was raised on 47th Street between Hoover and Vermont, which was a very nice neighborhood at that time. Very nice. Consisted of working families, mother and father in the home. The father was working. The moms, maybe they worked and maybe they didn't. Maybe they were housewives, or they might have worked a part-time little job. And they were always home cooking, and the kids were outside playing. It was a very good, very safe neighborhood. We walked the streets. We went everywhere, from Hoover to Normandy, wherever you wanted to go.
Right.
So Los Angeles was a fun, it was a very wonderful time for me. Yes.
So, in your definition, what is LA culture?
At my LA culture, when I was living in LA, was a very exciting. It was exciting. It was fun. I have good memories of Los Angeles. South LA. It was church on Sundays. The local church, Mount Moriah on 43rd and Figueroa. Being in a choir. And all involved in the things like that. Going to the museum, an exposition, Exposition Park over there. We would just walk down Menlo to the, we just go, us kids would just go to the museum during the summer almost every day. And also they had the swimming pool over there. We would go swimming. It was fun, it was fun. The dogs roaming the streets. Then they don't roam the streets like that, I don't think anymore. They would get loose for some reason or another at night. I don't know how them dogs could get out of their backyards, but they would be going, and I think my mother said I should have been a track runner because I could outrun a dog. Because when they come after you, man, I was running and jumping on top of cars.
Oh, good.
You could jump on top of a car. Better not jump on nobody's car now. They'll come out and shoot you or something.
And the way they made the
and they made their dent.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't dent back then. We could jump up. I'll jump on the hood and I'll jump on the roof of the car. It was fine.
Yeah.
You
can't do that now with these cars.
Yeah. So the culture was very it was very family family.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knew their neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
If my mother was at work and my daddy wasn't home, and me and my sister was acting up, Miss Arlene next door would hear us and say, "I want you to come over here. One of y'all gonna come over here and sit in my house, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna tell your mother about you, you know. And she would come over there with her little robe, her little house coat that she would have on, and say, "One of y'all come right over here to my house, because y'all, I can hear y'all fighting in there." And you know, everybody was, you want some fruit? Just go in somebody's backyard and get some fruit.
That, yeah.
We had an apple tree. One of the neighbors had a pomegranate tree. And you just go in the backyard and, you know, you can go from backyard to backyard. Nobody gonna say, "Get out my yard," you know. It was real wholesome, you know. It was, people talk about Los Angeles, you know, and sometimes now in a negative way.
Yes.
But no, I remember when it started turning. And I had left then. I was living in Merced because my husband was in the military. So I was living in Northern California, and the crack epidemic came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then something started changing it. But before then, no, it was beautiful, beautiful homes, lawns green and beautiful, well kept, you know, and all African Americans
Exactly.
was in those neighborhoods then at that time. And they were hardworking. They were teachers, educators, preachers, you know, engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, educated men and women. So LA was a very just fun times. I remember high school was fun. We had the Teen Post on what was that on Vermont, and I think it was 54th Street was a Teen Post for the teenagers after you get out of school. A place where you can have fun and it's safe.
Yeah.
And you can have dances, you know, and play games, you know, arcade games, whatever they had back then. And it was a safe place to just do all kind of good things, you know. Go to my brother taking him to go to the local barbershop to get his hair cut, and you know, the Mr. Williams who owned the cleaners, you know, on Vermont and was he on Hoover? He was on Hoover and Vermont. Hoover and Vernon. He owned the cleaners, which is they were all black owned then. Everything was black owned, so I want to put that out. Everything was black owned. And if you went to Bico Liquor Store, Mr. Green, who owned the liquor store on the corner there, right there at 47, right by our house, 47th and Vermont, he would ask my mother, if you bring me, tell your mother to bring me a slice of her pound cake that she makes on Sundays, and I'll give you some Kool-Aid, the Kool-Aid packages. So that was the trade. You get a slice of cake and we get some Kool-Aid packages, you know. Or, you know, you could, or if you wanted to go to the store, Miss Ike, there was, you know, some Chinese who were in the area. My mother would say, Miss Ike, just give them, you know, if during the summer, if she was working, my dad was gone, and they want something in the store, just put it on our tab, on our, you know. You could get like credit, you know.
Right.
And me and my sister would go in there and we get some potty meat. You know, remember potty meat was in a little can, they were potty meat, or Vienna sausage, and some crackers, and I would always sneak in some cupcakes. So when my mom, when they would see the bill on that Friday, why would you get cupcakes? You know, I got whatever, you know, we thought this was free food. We just, all we gotta do is go in and get the food and sign it, you know, like it was a receipt or something. We had to sign our name, you know, and my daddy would come on Friday, pay whatever it is. And sometimes he said, wow, this is really high. What will you guys get? We would get everything, because, I mean, you know, hog head cheese and crackers, you know, so, yeah, it was like the candy store. You just knew I'm just seeing these phases of the people that had the businesses there, that ran the laundromat down the street, the black guy that owned that, you know, who was keeping it all clean. You know, it was, you know, they came from down south with that wholesome country family, you know,
pride.
Yes, yes. They had that. And their culture and being together and helping each other. So that's how that's what they brought to Los Angeles. They didn't bring no violence and all this other stuff. They brought that same behavior. If somebody had some collard green trees in their backyard. Maybe somebody was a farmer back down south, and their yard was more like a little farm. Then my mother said, "Go get some collard green plants." You know.
Exchanged what was growing in their yard.
Yes, they would exchange. Yeah, you get some fruit. Everybody was, you know. I'm still like that. I live in Long Beach now, you know. But I'm like that because I have fruit trees and I and vegetables and stuff in the backyard. I grow too.
Beautiful.
You know, the play. But there was another one, and her name was Miss Jones. And Miss Jones, she had a her piano store. She had a piano store, and we would go down to that store, and my mother paid for us to have piano lessons. And I like playing the way I wanted to play. You know, with Miss Perkins, you had to do Mozart and all that. But I wanted to put my foot on the pedal, and I wanted to go like boom, 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 boom. You know, I played hard. I banged hard on the keys. I wasn't going nice and soft. I banged hard, and I don't know, that was just something in me. I found out later I like to play the drums. You know, I'm going to go, you know, I just want to, I just have that, you know, that wildness and just get into the music, you know. So with that, and Miss Hamilton, who taught us piano also, we stayed in piano for a while, me and my sister. And Miss Hamilton also was over the choir. And so we had a lot of ballet and dance, you know, but we went on Crenshaw for that. They had the ballet program was over there on Crenshaw and what was it? Crenshaw near Century? I think so. Yeah, a bus would pick us up. A bus would come and pick you up in the neighborhood.
Oh.
And we go to ballet and tap dance. You know, a lot of people do it was very cultural, you know, like, you know, for you to think then, you know, people just come from the South, but they wanted you to learn the culture of things. Music, dance, you know, speeches, you know, plays. My mother did plays, and she even traveled for a while doing plays. So she was a writer. She could write things for me, speeches for me. In church, you know, you had to do a speech, and she would give me a speech. She would go over it with me. She would show me how to speak. Now do it like this. And so at that time, then I was becoming the teenage, the youth revival speaker, like a preacher, like a little girl's preacher. And I learned how to just go woo, you know, and feel it, you know. And they would come from people from Chicago and everywhere, and it would be youth revival, and I was always one of the speakers. My sister could do the piano. She could play that piano. She could play it to this day, and she could sing very well. But she didn't ever want to go have an audience. I wanted an audience, you know, and I wanted the audience. But she said, "Oh God," she's like, "It's so scared. I can't do it." Even today, I tell her, "You can sing. I want you to sing." She said, "In the choir, you have a beautiful voice." Because they could hear us singing, you know, but mine was just to get out there, you know. You know, I didn't have no fear of it, you know. I didn't know why. I didn't have it because it was just in me.
Your favorite places to go when in LA when you were growing up?
Well, again, I was talking about the museum, going to just play at the park, the local parks. We had local parks all around, you know.
LA has some beautiful parks.
Yeah. Even right there on what's that one on? Oh, one of my favorite places was the Normandy Branch Library, and it was a huge library. You know, very like I think it was built in like the 1920s or something. You know, and it was a place as a little girl I could run away to, and it was like a movie. Because you could get into the books and it was like you were there, you know, and you were living it, you know. And I would love to go and just read books, and that was another thing to do. Just go to the library. I told my sister, I'm just gonna walk to the library, and she would say, let's go to the library, you know, and just have fun. It was very quiet. We had our little library cards where we could, you know, check out books. That was a really good place. A lot of positive things back then, wasn't it?
I tell my students. One of their civic duties is to have and own a library card and use it.
Yes.
After voting, you know, like votes.
Yes.
But another civic duty is to actually have a library card and use it.
That's what I taught my children too. They would go to trips to the library in Compton, because I lived in Compton also, and to the Compton Library. They have a nice big size library
Yes.
there, and they enjoy that, you know, and they enjoy going home with their books and reading it. And even my granddaughter, she loves to read. She just had a birthday, and they gave her her parents got her a recliner chair in her bedroom because she likes to read with the light behind it, and she can just read.
Beautiful.
And she says, I'm going to be a doctor.
That's right.
She's Okoye. Her father's Nigerian, and she said, I said, yes, Dr. Okoye. I'm gonna start calling you that right now,
Right.
Dr. Okoye.
Yes,
I said, I can see that, Dr. Okoye.
Step right on into that.
It means you care for someone else other than yourself. Yeah, there's a lot of selfishness now.
Yes.
Self-centeredness. But yeah, so when I see that, I know I'm home. Even with people, even today, no matter what, not just when I was growing up, but even now there's people that have that.
Yes.
And you can feel like, ooh, I feel so good.
Yeah, we're gonna grow that. I'm glad that you spoke that because, if we don't get anything else out of this conversation, anybody watching, yes, the nurturing, the feeling of home.
Yes.
That includes elders.
Yes.
And the wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem in my book, Woman of Ageless Beauty. And I wrote that when my mother was 80-something years old. And I wrote it when we went to Vegas, me, my mother, my husband, his mother was in town, his father, and I was watching my mother with all this energy, and I just said, wow, can I just sit at your knee and someday be as you, a woman of ageless beauty? I said, you're beautiful. And she said, what are you writing that? I said, yeah, I'm writing it. It's going to be in a book one day.
And so while
it's in the book.
Can you hold that book?
And this is my book.
The title is I Can't Stop These Living Waters.
Yes. I Can't Stop These Living Waters. And those living waters in the hands are showing the waters that keep flowing not from just your hands, it flows from your soul, and it keeps coming out. And those living waters are nurturing waters. They nurture, they heal.
Yes.
That's how come they're living waters. They're not dead, they're alive. And so if they're living and they're flowing, whoever they go into, they bring life to them too.
That's right.
So I thought this was appropriate title for it, and I even wrote a poem called I Can't Stop These Living Waters. And I wrote the poem because I was just in a prayer mode. I was praying, and I was in my prayer room. I have a room that's just designated to my praying, and it's just my room of meditation and prayer. And I was just saying, I can't stop these living waters. They're still coming, I can't stop it. And it's flowing, and you're crying out, and it's flowing and flowing, and it's not flowing, you're not crying about yourself, but you thinking about someone else. Because that's what the living waters is, to give someone else that drink. Yeah. You taking the drink because it's in you. So you both are getting it, you drinking it, and then you say, oh, let me give you a little of this water.
Yes.
So this is my book, and it's available at on World Stage Press books, online, and also on Amazon books. The books are $20, and so if anybody's interested, you will not be disappointed.
At all.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, what is your business or work that you do in the community right now?
I work with. I'm retired. I'm a retired teacher. I did pre-K and kindergarten with LA Unified and also Bellflower School District. And then I retired in 2009. So then I started doing counseling for women that were sexually abused, also counseling for women that are coming out of domestic violence. And then right now I'm caring for the children from women at his nesting place. And I also do counseling there twice a month, which I will be doing it tomorrow, twice, the first and second Tuesday of every month. And we talk about different issues that they're going through. There are women that are homeless, but they came in, they're pregnant, and they also have other children. So my care is to that, like I said, the nurturing, the living waters, is to give that life to that mother so that she can begin to flow that life into their children. And it's actually like you multiply yourself. You know, you duplicate. You got, you know, they said discipleship is making them, you know, what is that? So I want them, they may not have their mother in their life, you know, whatever the circumstances were. Maybe there were bridges that were burnt. I don't know why you're at the shelter and why there's no mother. Where is your grandmother? Where is an aunt, you know? But they need that older woman to take that place, you know, as much as I can. So that's what I do, and I do that at several different places, you know, drug, you know, some drug rehabs when they ask me to come in and speak, you know, in the churches and women's groups, a lot of different women groups. I in the community. Actually, wherever I'm asked to go, I've got to the point like, send me wherever, you know. If you, I've gone to Missouri and I've done a retreat for women that came out of incarceration. They were felons, and they had 5 homes, and they wanted me to come to speak. So I went there for a week, and we had a retreat with women that were, had been incarcerated, and because for healing to take place. And then we ate, and we went shopping all together, and we just had a good time in Missouri.
Beautiful. So that probably segues into this next question. What problem are you seeking to solve in either the world, the community, or your family or personal life? What problem are you seeking to solve?
In a way, poverty, you know, or people being just relaxed and not, you know, motivation, not being motivated. Like with I'm helping the women, like my own children, all my children, I have 7 children. I have 5 girls and 2 boys, and they're successful, you know, and professional, you know, positions, you know. But so I want to give that to as many others, not just mine. You understand? I guess because that's the teacher in you. It's not just yours in your 4 walls in your home, but I want to see that woman that didn't have that same opportunity. I don't know what happened. Maybe she was on drugs. Maybe something happened in her life. Whatever. Maybe she was surrounded with poverty. But I want them to know that they can move up. They can get their degrees. They can become professional. They can get their own apartment. They can get their own home. They can be independent. And the men, the same thing, you know, that they can take their roles as a head, you know, and not to be, and neither one to try to stop or block the other. No. A lot of times I see with the men and women today, it's a lot of battling about who's on top, or she's professional but he's not, you know. But I want them all to do, you know, well. So I think I want to. It's the same thing when I was teaching those little pre-K and kindergarten children. I want to see them rise up, even if they're older. They're adult men and women, you know.
Right.
I'll say, wow, you're gifted. You got this gift in you. Really, I'm gonna tell them there's a gift. Just like I would do my kindergartners. I say, yes, you can. You can draw. Did you draw that? Oh my God. You said you should do something with that. I said, just start practicing. Just go with it, you know. And I got a lot of other women now to write. They said, well, I'm going to go do a book. I said, yeah, do a book. Yeah. Write about, I don't know what to write about. Write about yourself. Write about what you feel. So I want to solve that, what's that word when they're just, when they're not motivated, and they're just comfortable.
Apathy.
Yes, yeah. And you're just comfortable where you're at. You don't want to move on. And you can recreate yourself too. You know, my daughters always say, Mom, what are you getting ready to do again? You're going to recreate yourself, you know, because you retired and then you kept on doing this and you kept on doing that. And you just keep on going. I said, I don't know. It's whatever I'm going to do. And I think as long as you're on this earth, you can keep doing it. And if you have purpose, then you got to stay around because you got to finish your assignment. That's how come I have a poem in my book that says, I'm going to finish strong. I'm going to finish strong. You know, and that's what I'm going to do. I want to finish strong. Yes. So I always say I need I teach. I like to teach the women and to build up not only your mind, your spirit, and your body. So in my prayer room, in my prayer room is an exercising room. So I have weights in that room. I have the treadmill is in that room. You know, I have all type of different exercising equipment in that room. Then there's a piano in that room, and then there's the seat that I sit in that I pray, and then there's my lessons that I'm writing, that I'm getting spiritually. That then there's my journal. That when I'm in that room and I'm getting a download, spiritual download, that I said, I gotta remember what was just told to my spirit. Let me write that down. And sometimes I have to go back. So it's a lot. Sometimes I just want to go in that room and just lay on the floor. And I just open my arms and say, what is it? Just tell me what it is. Let me get it all. So I believe in the mind, spirit, and the body. Yes. I always see when I see preachers and they're preaching and they're just let their bodies go and they're really overweight, and they're not taking care of their body. And I'm saying you're teaching us, but you got to take care of. What are you doing about that? God wants you to take care of that body. What do you eat? Are you putting poison in your body? Yeah. So I believe in, and that's what I want to. That's what I think I try to leave with everyone. Mind, body, soul, and spirit. And then they'll say, "Oh, you exercise?" I say, "Every night. I stretch, like yoga. I do yoga every night. I do yoga." And I fell once not too long ago, and I was going to pick up one of my granddaughters from skating, and I skipped a step coming down these stairs, and I noticed people were looking at me funny. I said, "Anybody gonna save me?" They said, "You landed like you were a ballerina." We didn't know what the heck was going on here. They said, "You just went, whoa." And I landed on my knees, but I didn't do nothing because it's like my body just went to land. And I just there's nothing wrong with my knees. So I said, "Can I still do squats?" So I still do my squats. I said, "Well, I thought, oh my God, my leg is gonna be messed up, my knees," but it wasn't. That was from stretching.
Keep the body moving.
Yeah, yes. I kept the body. I'm stretching, so that means. Or if you pick up something, it didn't take my back out because I'm doing some dumbbells all the time. I'm stretching my body as far as I can, and I'm holding my stomach in. I'm letting, I'm breathing. I'm doing the breathing exercises, and I'm just taking in the air and the oxygen and releasing it. So that's what I try to teach.
Yes.
That's what I try to teach to even the ladies in the shelters. That when I was I would teach them that same thing, and I would do a little exercise class or just a meditation and just think. What are you thinking? Close your eyes and just relax. No thoughts. Just what are you thinking? That's like prayer. Because you get a download. You get something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you are quiet and
you need that quiet time.
Blocking out all of those other things. Yeah.
You get the download and you know what's to come.
So, one more time, how can people support you in your work that you do?
Well, you can buy my book for one thing.
Okay.
You can buy my book because that keeps me moving. That helps me, and it keeps me. I have people that have bought this book, and I never met them. They're in Philadelphia, one lady, and she's from Barbados, and so she sent the book to Barbados, and then I have someone that bought it in Australia. So it's multiplying itself. Without, it's kind of like word of mouth, without someone that I have that's, I said this, I told God this, give this book wings and let it fly.
All right.
Give it legs and let it run. To the 7 continents on this earth, to every state, you take it and you move it. And it started moving, and I would say, who is this person in this? Who's that? I don't even know nobody there. But then they'll find me on Facebook after they read my book, and they'll message me. And one lady, she said, your book, it broke the mold.
Wow.
And she said, I read page 17, page this, page 4, page 5, and then this one got me. And then she'll send me another message. I said, oh my goodness, she's excited about my book. And she said, I gotta go give one. I'm gonna give two to the ladies at my church as gifts. And I'm gonna send it to my friend in Barbados, And that's how you support me, because you're supporting what I said I want to do, you ask the question, how would you like to change the world, or what you want to do? You know,
what problem you're solving.
Problem is the things that is a lot of that is in this book,
Beautiful.
and that's how you can help me to help it move.
Yes. And so, where can people connect with you? Where are you? Either on.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram on 005.pat.
Okay.
PR. Well, one of the ladies that bought my book, and she drew it. She's an artist, and I did a story about when I went and talked to someone in solitary confinement, which was an accident. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I got lost at Twin Towers Jail, and that story is in the book too. It's called Behind Solitary Walls. Well, she was so blessed by that story that she invited me for breakfast. Crystal Hart, and she's a darling, and she drew a beautiful picture of a woman. She said the angel that was standing at the bars in broken chains behind a jail cell, in front of a jail cell, and and that just touched my heart, and so and I just a lot of different things. I'm meeting a lot of beautiful people from just doing this book, not knowing how I was gonna move it. But I don't know, it just started moving itself. Yeah, because somebody said you gotta get a publicist and all that, and and they're contacting me and I said, well, I asked them, what are you gonna do for me? Tell me what you're gonna do, Okay, how are you gonna move it? Because it's moving on its own, and I don't know what's going on here,
You do.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's just moving, I didn't even contact these people, and I don't know why, because I didn't understand why they're buying more than one book. I thought, you buy a book and it's one book, but why are you buying 1, 2, 10 books, at a time? Because they want someone else to see the story in that book.
Yes.
They want to help. It's in the jails, because someone sent it to someone in prison, So when it gets into prison, then they'll tell, man, what is that book? Listen to this. Why don't you get this book? Why don't you get that book? Because they can order things too. It could be one of the books that they use in the prisons. Because there's stories about jail time in there, or different issues that people have gone through in life, and gives them a better understanding, men and women who are incarcerated. So, because that was my ministry for years, prison ministry, prison fellowship.
Yes, it is mutual.
Yes,
Feeling is mutual.
Kindred spirits.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.